Since it released back in 2016, American Truck Simulator has received no less than 59 major updates. And even when considering that was 10 years ago, getting 3 to 4 major updates every single year is quite impressive. Now with each of these updates came something new. Usually features players have been asking for, like the wait stations back in 1.37 or the 5th generation Cascadia in 1.55. So obviously with so many updates, the game has grown quite a lot. New trucks, new mechanics, graphical improvements, and a lot of other features that we the players genuinely loved. But what about all the other features that we kept asking for? The ones SCS Software keeps seeing everywhere in their comment sections, and yet somehow they are still nowhere in sight. With so many updates over the years, you'd think ATS would have it all by now, except it doesn't. Despite everything the game added, there's still plenty of features players keep asking for, all capable of making the game feel more alive. So today, let's take a look at some of the most requested features ATS still doesn't have. First on our list is the CB radio. The reason why it's so hard to believe we still don't have this feature in the game, it's because it's not even new. SCS already implemented CB radios many years ago, back in the 18 Wheels of Steel days. And ever since we moved on from those older games into the ETS2 and ATS era, that's one thing that I always missed. Sure, the graphics are better, the trucks looked better, the map was bigger, but nonetheless the world felt a lot more quiet. A CB radio system could completely change that atmosphere. Imagine hearing a quick radio chatter, maybe a warning about an accident ahead, road maintenance causing delays or detours, heavy rain moving into the area, or even simple trucker conversations in the background while you're driving through the night. It doesn't even have to be an insanely complex voice system. A simple AI-generated radio message, random chatter, or contextual road warnings would already go a long way. With the current technology and considering it's all been done before, it's only fair to wonder how come there was no room for it in so many updates across the years. Second on our list today is multi-drop deliveries. So let's be honest, most jobs in ATS are very predictable right now. Like you pick up a trailer, you drive for a few hours, reverse into a parking spot, and that's basically it, in a nutshell at least. Real trucking jobs are often a lot more dynamic than that. Imagine you are picking up a trailer full of construction materials in Denver, and then you have to stop at multiple different construction sites across the state before finally finishing the job. Or delivering products to several stores across the same town while your trailer slowly gets lighter and lighter. The drive itself becomes a lot more engaging if you ask me, and you'd be planning your route in a different way. You think about your fuel stops differently, and the whole job experience would feel a lot more like an actual workday instead of the long uninterrupted highway drive. Now let me say this, in my opinion this feature might be closer now than ever. With project coaches coming into ETS2, SCS is already working on systems involving multiple city stops and scheduled routes, which means the structure needed for something like this is already being developed. I think that should eventually open up the door for multi-drop trucking jobs in ATS, and it would truly improve the gameplay loop by a lot. Although I will say this, it's a little funny that we potentially had to wait for coaches to arrive just to finally get features that would massively improve the trucking gameplay in a trucking game. Next, speaking of immersion inside the cab, another feature players kept asking for are proper interior animations. Things like moving pedals, animated manual shifters, working levers. They're small details, sure, but once you spend enough time driving in first person, you really start to notice their absence. Pretty much all the cab 3D models right now are for automatic gearboxes only. And what's strange is that if we take a look at how detailed ATS interiors already are, you would expect it not to be static, right? If we look at how most players spend hundreds of dollars on steering wheels, shifters, eye trackers, all that just to make the experience feel a little more believable, it's honestly hard to understand why these kind of animations are still missing after all these years. Another super long overdue feature for ATS are rigid trucks, and that goes for ETS2 as well. I'm not even gonna spend too much time explaining this one because pretty much everyone already knows how badly we want them. I think it's important to mention we don't just want them to give SCS extra work or because they are cool. I think they would genuinely change the driving experience for a lot of us. Rigid trucks operate differently. They feel different in tighter cities, smaller roads, loading areas, and they bring a completely different kind of challenge compared to just hauling the normal trailer across the interstate. That's exactly why we want these things. Things like a flatbed rigid trucks holding lumber, or utility equipment, maybe even with a loader crane attached to the back. It would make ATS feel a lot more varied from job to job, instead of every delivery following this exact same formula. Next, I want to talk about this feature that's more like a request, related to the rest stops, that players have wanted for many years. And it's simply the ability to sleep outside designated areas. And to be clear, I don't think anyone wants to replace the iconic truck stops, or the gas stations, or long-haul diners. Those are part of the atmosphere that makes American Truck Simulator so good. What players really want is freedom. Sometimes, during a drive, you randomly find this perfect scenic spot overlooking a highway at night, watching the traffic slowly fade into the distance. And ATS basically tells you that, sorry, you have to keep driving until you reach that glowing icon. It's such a small thing, but being able to naturally end the drive wherever it makes sense would add a lot more variety to the long hauls. Another cool idea connected to this one that I found really funny is coffee, actually serving a purpose in the gameplay. Nothing overcomplicated, but maybe when you're stopping at the gas station to fuel your truck, let us get a coffee for our bellies. This could have a small incentive, say it could earn you another hour of drive before the fatigue kicks in. I think it's a really good idea. It would take maybe hours to implement, and I think it would go a long way into making us feel more connected to the world. Next, what really becomes noticeable after many hours of gameplay are the actual jobs we take. Sometimes the cargo and delivery locations make absolutely no sense together. You'll be hauling massive industrial equipment or entire trains straight into places that realistically would never even receive something like that. In what world does transporting a bunch of cars to a Walmart grocery store would really make sense? And with ATS becoming more and more detailed every year, moments like this start breaking the immersion for a lot of us. Which is also why features like multi-drop deliveries could be so important going forward, because maybe it's finally time for a proper overhaul of the entire job system. Not just more cargo, but maybe smarter cargo, more believable routes, and deliveries that actually feel connected to the world around you. And last but not least, a smaller feature that would generally make ATS and ETS2 a lot more convenient is the ability to properly copy settings and control configurations between profiles. Realistically, a lot of us don't just use one profile anymore, especially with map mods, different mod setups, or testing configurations. It's pretty common that we have multiple saves. And every time you create a new profile, you have to redo everything manually. Buttons, steering settings, interface preferences, gameplay options, all of it. It's not a game-breaking thing or anything, but it's just one of those small frustrations that slowly becomes annoying over time. Personally, I use truck tools for this exact reason, and it works great, but it would sure be nice to have something like this built directly into ATS itself. Well, there you have it. Just a few features from the top of my head that honestly feel so long overdue at this point, I'm starting to think we might never get to see some of them. Still, with ATS constantly evolving, who knows, maybe one day. And as always, until the next time, stay safe on the road and keep on trucking. Cheers.